It's the SDG Podcast. Before we get started, you can check us out on the web at solutiondesign.com/podcast or find us on all the social medias, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Solution Design.
So welcome, everybody. We got some awesome voices on the podcast today. And Peter Lawrence is here. Say hi, Peter.
I am.
Hi there. Give him a hard time. And we got Brian Ganas joining us. And also the wonderful Alison Lorenzo was able to make time with very short notice. So thank you for being here, Alison. Of course, I'm Kyle Bacher. And today we're going to talk about entering the void, entering into the darkness, the dark night of winter. The Minnesota winters, this time of the year between now and spring, the holiday's over. Everybody gets back to the day-to-day and cold, snow, overcast, sometimes months without seeing the sun. It can really affect people. It has reminded me though of a episode of Star Trek Voyager. It's called Night. It was the first episode of the 5th season. I'm reading this because I'm not that great of a genius, but they entered into an area of space that had no stars, no light, no nothing, that they had to travel through for 2 years and kind of went nuts on the way. So this reminded me of that.
Wait, 2 years?
2 years. So
Yeah,
luckily our winters don't last that long.
Yeah.
Not yet.
So what do you personally do this time of year as we go into February and March before these things finally start turning around, spring break happens? You know, what has your experience been like?
Wait, you get spring break?
I just speak for what other people do. Normal people. I don't.
He observes spring break regardless.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I need spring break.
It's an important holiday.
Yes, yeah. Allison, what are your winters like?
Oh, well, I've never been a very outdoorsy person, like under the best conditions, much less in snowy, cold, gray. So I'm sure a lot of people would say, go out there and get outside. And I'd ignore those people. And I try to embrace the cozy aspects. Like, I'll try to work from a coffee shop maybe and soak in those vibes. Or maybe I'll throw an extra snuggly throw a blanket over myself if I'm working from home. Maybe I'll make myself some hot chocolate. Maybe I'll throw one of those goofy fireplace videos on there with the crackling sounds and stuff, just to try to maximize any positive connotations of winter as much as I can.
That's awesome. Maximizing the snuggly, cozy, sit by the fire, get one of those snuggies, the blankets with sleeves.
I'm so tempted to get one. I'm sure my husband would make fun of me the entire year, but
he can make fun all he wants. They are comfortable and they are warm. So
that's all I need to hear.
Yep.
Yeah.
Brian, you're a fairly positive guy on the surface. I haven't dug that deep into your psyche.
Yeah, it's all just black goo underneath the nice looking exterior. I'm kind of the same way. I'm really not a huge outdoorsy person. There are things I love doing that require the outdoors, but winter can actually be kind of a nice respite for me sometimes. My wife is a very outdoorsy, active person, and sometimes it drives me crazy. So winter is kind of an excuse for me to not have to go do all that stuff. With that said, that all got kind of thrown out the window when we had a kid, because now he goes stir crazy and drives us nuts. So winter can get tough. My plan in the past is, embrace the cozy, similar to what Alison said. And for me, that's books, video games. I really try to stock up on good video games to get me through the season. And then I tend to buy new speakers during this time of year, because all of a sudden I rediscover that I want to just be in my basement blasting music at myself. So I'm hoping my wife is not listening to this, because I'm in trouble otherwise.
Because you're going to get new speakers regardless?
Yes. Yeah, she uses things she doesn't need to know,
Do you get one that has where you can filter out Hans Zimmer in case it comes up on Spotify?
Oh, that's actually baked into the all the stereo equipment in general. So yeah, there's really cool filters you can buy. It's amazing stuff.
I fake it until I make it. I have lived in Minnesota or North Dakota my entire life, and it does not get warmer in the winter months, so you just have to enjoy it. I certainly have my share of coping mechanisms and gear. I've got insulated jeans that I can wear, or I certainly have a nice coat. I just got electrically heated gloves now that I'm an old man and losing feeling in my fingers. And so those are amazing and do a wonderful job. You don't even need a coat. You just have warm gloves, and that's all you need. Because, I mean, that's the other thing I try to do in Minnesota is never wear a coat unless I'm going to be outside for, like, skiing or something like that. If I'm just shopping or something else, it's just coat's too much work. I have it in my car because I don't want to break down and not have a coat and look like a complete fool. You know, walking into work or whatever. Yeah, coat's overrated. Car will get warm eventually. And electric gloves.
You know,
You make a good point.
I haven't thought about that, Peter, but I'm kind of the same way. Like, I jumped into the car the other day to head into the office, and I didn't bring a coat with me, and it was a little cold, but I had good gloves on for holding the steering wheel and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, once I had the gloves on, I was kind of like, you know what? This is fine. Like, I'm good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jackets are overrated. Heat, warmth, bring on the hypothermia. I'm ready.
I do like that your logic, though, is not to have a coat if your car breaks down so that you can remain warm. It's so that you don't look like a complete fool.
Well, exactly. I mean,
so that when EMS rolls up, you can at least say, see?
I got a coat. That's here. I'm not a fool.
You bring up a good point, though, about having it in your car. Everybody needs to have a winter survival kit in your car. Yeah. Don't let your gas tank go under a quarter tank, you know.
What about your battery packs?
Fanny packs have those. You want
no battery packs for your car.
Battery packs. Yeah.
Almost as important as fanny packs. Yeah. It's really
my fanny packs are just full of batteries.
That will allow me to start a car with it. That kind of stuff. My dad used to make us winter survival kits, and one of the things was a metal coffee can, because coffee used to come in a metal can. Yep. And a candle, make holes in it, and like, you just put the candle in here, and it works as a little heater. And I tried it once in a fish house. It didn't work for the hell of me. So if that's going to save your life, I'm sorry. Jackets, gloves, hats, that kind of stuff is a must. A blanket, yep. Get some
and
of
I
those
do believe leaving the house every once in a
while. This big, you can throw those in there. One of the big factors of the winter doldrums is vitamin D. And like we're saying, we don't go outside. I don't go outside ever because that's where the monsters are. So I've got grow lights. There are no plants underneath them, just me right now. But they're cheap. They're not. They make specific like daylight simulation lights, therapeutic lights, and it's to get sunlight, which gives you vitamin D and other stuff. But they also have just grow lights that do that. And these are 2 LED ones, actually 2 double LED ones that have these wands. I've got this sunlight shining down on me. And I also take vitamin D supplements to try to, stay happy. But it does drag on me. I do have ups and downs during the wintertime, and it can really make work difficult, sap your energy. People that have seasonal affective disorder, telling them to take vitamin D and get a lamp isn't really going to make them feel better. It's whatever they have to do to get through it. But this is the time of the year when that really can kick in for folks, because it's seasonal and it's depressing. How does, it can affect your work, but as a part of a project team, or a department, a working team, do you do anything to account for that or understand that that's this time of the year? And what are some things that you do differently this time of year because of we're going into the long, dark night of winter?
I know one of the things that I've run into is I tend to find that a lot of work gets kind of shuffled off from December because we all know with the holidays, it's just not as productive. And so things get put on hold, whether we know it or not. And then all of a sudden January kicks up, everybody comes back, and now we're all panicking because we have all these things that we've been pushing and procrastinating on, and now it's time to get them done. So there's kind of this nice period for the first, half of January where you're so busy catching up that you kind of forget how depressing it is outside. So that's what I'm currently in the middle of, which is helping. But yeah, after that, I don't know. I think it's just trying to get people to remember that there's a life outside of work for one thing. And, what did you do? What have you try to get outside, see the sunlight, and not just, get the blue light from your computer monitor all day long? But I don't know. I think it's just remembering to be human beings and ask each other about the things that we do as human beings other than work. And that's the main thing I try to do.
Yeah, I would
Alison?
agree with all that. Yeah, I feel like connecting with other people, like in person, if you can, that's not always possible. But, if you have an in-office day or something, that can be really valuable to avoid that like cabin fever feeling. And that really helps with, being human with one another. It's much easier to do that if you just walk to the water cooler, as it were, than if you have to call someone on Teams to commiserate about whatever human thing you want to talk about. And I think, Peter, you said it very briefly, like getting outside. I mean, even this can feel nice to get the sunshine while it's out for, those 4 hours that it is out. That's helpful. Stick to Windows if you are in an office.
Yeah, don't use a Mac.
Nice try. Nice try, Kyle.
Took me a second, but I got it. Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
think.
used to-
Go ahead, Peter.
I used to really enjoy the commutes, especially when, the minus 20, the minus 30 degree days where you just like, I've made it. I've gotten to work. I've gotten out of the house. I've walked across the parking lot. It's not a big accomplishment, but just that super cold air just makes you just kind of enjoy getting into it. And I mean, part of it is that attitude, like, I really like the cold. I really like it when it has a lot of snow. That's been kind of a challenge lately, keeping the snow on the ground, although we're getting a little bit. Not as much as Atlanta, though. So, I'm really starting to think about moving to the south where all the snow is.
Yeah, I like winter without snow makes it even worse. If there's a huge snow, I'm out in my 4-wheel drive. There's blizzard, snow emergency. Where are my keys? Because I want to go drive around in it because it's fun. But like you're saying, like making that move to get going, you accomplish something. You got out of the house. Like I've started working out of the office every day of the week, and as I say that,
Except for Fridays.
Well, it's been a long. So, like you're saying, all the crazy stuff that got put on hold, that'll happen this week. Yeah, I had 3 major projects that we tied up this week.
Now they're done. Now you're free.
They're done, but that's the thing. Like that overwork can happen. Like you're coming out of the holidays. We're already drained of having to like suffer through time with family members, and all the gifts that you didn't want. I might be negative. I don't know. But
you need a better list.
Then you just start working your tail off because everything starts happening again. I think it's a really good time to burn out, which is only going to make that dark night of winter, this horrible season we have. Now, if I still snowmobiled and went skiing and all those things I used to do, it would make it better. Winter activities, pacing yourself, I think is good. Understanding that this can be a tough time for people. So just keeping an eye out, fuel to the fire. You kind of let people off the hook if they're not feeling it for different things. I don't want to show up to your outdoor fire pit party or whatever. Like, okay, that's fine. No big deal. Just letting people off the hook. Working on a part of a project team, driving that forward. Just making sure you're staying on top of things like recognition and gratitude and morale building, team building. But human connection, I think, is a big deal. Like so maybe even being aware of the people that live alone or people that are on projects by themselves where they're just doing straight up development. They have their heads down most of the time doing work. If you hope they're introverts. If they're not, though, it's not good. It can be hard for those people. And anyway, so they got that to deal with. So, that's why I go in the office and I spend all my time in the office. And also that's where all the laptops and all the stuff I work with. And so I've got other reasons to be on site. But, I could probably work 3 days a week, 4 days, some weeks 5 days at home if I really wanted to. But then I would start getting that cabin fever and feeling out of it, disconnected, those kind of things. But one thing I learned is I used to, a long time ago, it used to make me kind of bitter because I expected people to like connect with me, and it was like, it's okay for me to reach out to other people and make those connections. They might have enough connections and things going on. Other people are fine and all of that. Like they don't know I'm sitting here on my island and going through this stuff. So when I started to like take the initiative to schedule be the organizer for stuff, set up a happy hour or a working session with people, I love to see the things that some of our project teams are doing. In-office day, they're not waiting for an invite to have an in-office day. They'll just coordinate with each other and say, hey, let's go meet in Boardwalk and just work together all day. That I think that's been really effective. Also, just feeling like a team is helpful for that too.
I've had 2 virtue lunches over the last couple of weeks where we just got on camera and ate lunch together, and it's kind of weird a little, but it's just a way to sort of force some conversation with, I scheduled one with a fellow STGer who's at the same client I am, and we just hadn't connected in a while, and we wanted to chat and kind of catch up, both personally and professionally, and that was the way to do it. It was either a Monday or a Friday where we weren't expecting to be in the office, but it was a nice thing. I'd never really done that before, honestly. It kind of, the lunch hour sort of feels a little sacred and you don't mess with it, but things like this can be really important, especially when you're working from home. And it's nice just to connect. And I need to do that more. And you're inspiring me to do that some more right now, especially with this month coming up. So
Brian, did you ever do that during the COVID times?
Yeah, during COVID, there were definitely more concerted efforts to do that. Happy hours especially. We would always try to schedule the goal was at least once a month, but ideally every other week we would have a Friday, kind of start at 3:30. Everybody go grab something to drink. It was kind of implied that it's really not supposed to be alcoholic, but the rules slide obviously a little, but we all just kind of took it easy and just made that the end of our week thing. And some people could make it, some people couldn't. I remember there was a debate that I had internally of, as the Scrum Master, I kind of felt like I was the one who would have to push one way or the other on this, but do you allow it to be shop talk, or do you kind of enforce the idea no, we're not here to talk work? I ended up not doing anything. We just let it organically, fit however it needed to be. And we very rarely talked about work, actually. It was good.
Nice.
And especially considering, we had people from 3 different countries in those happy hours. And it's hard to find things to connect over at that point other than work. And so the fact that we were able to do it was good. We did pull out the old, the trick up our sleeve of Minnesotans of just talking about weather, because everyone loves hearing about our weather. They might just be humoring me, but they legitimately seem to love hearing about how ridiculous it gets here. So that was always a good standby. But it was great.
How perfect it is, right?
Yes, exactly.
Definitely not Schadenfreude. Definitely not.
No, none.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that word. I miss green. I worked in my younger days before the whole IT thing happened for a while in North Dakota. And then I worked in New Mexico, and then I worked in Texas. And those places are not lush forests of green, not the big woods of Minnesota. I just really miss that lush green world that I used to live in. And that's why I moved back. And that's why I won't, unless I'm going to the Sequoia National Forest or deep in the Amazon jungle. I'm not going anywhere else. No high desert, none of that stuff. I need that green.
That is a movie I would watch.
I would too. Yeah. The screenplay writes itself. We have addressed that in our house as well. My wife and I realized that we love having plants around, but we don't take care of them. And so they're going to die. And so eventually we started moving to then artificial plants. And now I know there are benefits, obviously, you get out of real plants, but having the green around makes such a difference. And it's from my little office right now, I can see a couple real plants that I have out in the distance, and there's a couple fake ones. The other big one, just because I want to basically shill for them right now, the Lego plants that you can buy now are so fun to put together, and from a distance they look very real in many cases. So those have been a big thing we've adopted as well, is just getting that greenery, whether it's plastic Legos or plastic plants, and just filling the spaces. Yep,
there
perfect.
We go.
Perfect.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
That looks fake.
Totally is. But you're right, Brian. Does the trick. That's all I need it for.
My nephew is a master builder. I've never seen anybody that can put Legos together like him. So now he'll be getting Lego sets, plants. And it's okay, this is a temporary gift. It needs to come back assembled.
Yeah.
I'm not putting you to work. No.
I'm giving
This
you
is
the
for
gift of
you
assembly.
to do. Yeah.
I bet if you dropped them off in the office, people would build the plants. No problem.
Yes, that's true. Although I do have a little Game of Thrones dragon little thing that I was trying to get people to put together for me just by bringing it into the office, and it's still there sitting there.
I'll work on it next time.
All right. That sounds great. So, looking at the next 2 or 3 months, are you going to put any of this into use? Do you see opportunities? Are you seeing any? I mean, it's a little early yet. I mean, we're kind of just in that transition. What does this make you think about in terms of like the future this year?
I will say one thing that you guys have made me aware to sort of listen with a more critical filter to how the teams are talking about things, rather than, because I tend to work on a team right now that's no cameras on right now for whatever reason. That's just what they've chosen. And you can't make people be on camera unless you're the CEO, and then it just doesn't work. They tend to be crabby about it. But you can hear it in people's voices too, right? You can hear that they're not necessarily, hey, let's go build us some stuff. Let's do some software. This will be fun. To kind of keep that in mind just when talking in team settings, right? Because that's really kind of all I've got right now is working with my teams, and they're all remote. So pay attention.
I would almost require cameras to be on. I think it's that important, but we can't dictate.
All you can do is behave by example.
Yeah,
that's right.
When COVID first started, I was very much like cameras on, off, it doesn't really matter that much. And I became a firm believer that cameras really do need to be on. You can try to force it, you can try to really push, but someone who doesn't want to is simply not good. Right. And I did realize it's not a fight worth fighting most of the time, but
no,
I really try to encourage it. And I don't know, Peter, I know we're kind of getting off topic a little bit, but one of the things I did try that you might consider is generally, leave it up to everybody to just kind of do their own thing, but insist on maybe one particular meeting where people need to have their cameras on. For me, that was I tried to do it with the retros. Some
Everybody's
mixed success
camera on
there,
for retros. Yeah,
good.
And
I think that makes a big difference.
It does make a big difference. It really does. Like you were saying, like you can see empathy over a camera that you might not have the words for.
Yep.
I think you could kind of trick people into turn their cameras on, like a special hat day. Okay, put on a funny hat day. Okay, let's see your hat. Because then it's like, well, no, just take my word for it. My hat is hilarious, and I win. No, we're gonna see it. You're gonna have to turn that camera.
We tried something. We tried something like that at my current client when I first started, and the teams were forming up. We were gonna try, rather than doing icebreakers, what we said was, okay, come to Monday for the Monday stand-up, and everybody put a custom background on, and the theme is the letter G. That's it. That's all we gave for instruction. And some of the stuff that people came with was so stupid. It was so funny. Like one guy just put the letter G on an image behind him. Some people went with green. I cheated. I can't remember, but I basically lied about how G was related because I just used it as an excuse to put up my favorite background. It was really fun. It was a very cool thing. Things like that can be a lot of fun to try and get those cameras on.
I like that approach of going with like the background. Then people don't have to find a silly hat. People might not have them in their house, although I do, for the record, if we ever want to do a silly hat podcast day. But no, that could be fun. And the Google image search world is your oyster at that point. That could be cool.
I don't like the weird, like they've gotten better, but the weirdness of doing a blurred background, stuff like that, which is at the detriment of everybody watching me that has to look at, my mess.
Yeah, there's no way to turn it on for you, unfortunately. We've tried.
I figured, it's like Oscar Madison, but Felix Unger never actually moved in. If you know about The Odd Couple, who they were. I just realized as I was saying that this might be a generational thing where I'm making a reference. So The Odd Couple was about two roommates. One was extremely messy. The other one was extremely clean, and all the antics that ensued because of that. And it's Oscar Madison was the clutter bug, and Felix Unger was the clean guy. And it was a good show. I really liked it. It made me feel like there's other people in the world like me. I'm not alone. I'm not the only one that detests labor, physical labor, cleaning, those kind of activities. Yes. So
I will tell you that leads to something on my mind about these, winter void days when you're kind of cooped up in your house. If you are working remotely, like I usually am, is your environment can help or hinder that with that cabin fever real quick. Yeah. Especially I've got 2 1-year-olds at home, and so the house is a mess. It's a tornado. They leave for daycare, and there's just the apocalypse at the table where they have like pumpkin puree on every surface imaginable, including all of my clothes, of course. And it's just, if you are like me, that can drive you crazy real fast. And I've never been great at cleaning myself. So what I've had to do is get creative. And for one thing, I'm willing to shell out money to get help with cleaning. That's never been a thing before, but that was like my new thing this year, is like, I'm recognizing that has a huge mental impact on myself. And I am by no means like rich or fancy, but that's just, I need help in this area. It's not happening otherwise. And then another thing is, trying to find mental ways of tricking myself into enjoying cleaning a little bit more. So one weird trick for me is that I have very positive memories of when I was a kid and my mom would do spring cleaning, and she'd have these 2 CDs that she would always put on, and she did spring cleaning. It was Sade and the Eagles. Those 2 for some reason. Sure. So I found those albums on Spotify and I played them, and it gets me like cool. In this like at least happy mood for cleaning for the duration of those albums, and then I can tell myself I'm done after those songs play.
That's been a huge tactic that we use for keeping the space clean as well, because we run into the same mentality. And the thing I use with my son all the time is we just set a timer. We're going to clean for 15 minutes, and then as soon as that timer goes off, we stop. It doesn't matter what we're in the middle of. You tend to go over the 15 a little bit, but the overall point just helps. Like you accomplish a lot more in 15 minutes than you think you're going to, and you feel good about it. It feels really nice. Yeah. I wanted to touch, Alison, on too, like hiring someone to get involved in housekeeping a little bit. For anyone who feels the same way, it's more affordable than you typically than you think it's going to be. It's not cheap, but it's not as expensive as I think people think it is. We ran into that same thing, and we have not pulled the trigger on it, but it's something we have talked about many times, and you're kind of inspiring me to reopen that conversation.
It's worth giving it a shot and just seeing how you feel afterwards. Like, was that money worth it? And for me, it was like, hands down. That's great. Yeah, I'm willing to draw back on other things to be able to afford that, for sure.
Having worked in the restaurant business for many, many years, it's you got to do side work. Before you get to go home, you got to do some chores. And when you start the day, you got to do some chores to get ready and stuff. And I always try to do things as quickly as possible. I go in this hyper cleaning, like how fast can I scrub this table? I just be like a madman. So that's what I do. If I have to clean something or get ready for a trip, I go into like full action mode and I'll play music, like theme music, like Rocky, Eye of the Tiger. I'm really going to tackle it. And someday I'm actually going to do that thing that I say I'm going to do.
Yep. Yeah.
Tomorrow.
I'm trying to remember if Atomic Habits was where it came from, but they talked about sort of having an area of control and having that area grow. So, like, let's say you've just got, pick names here, but let's say you've got sort of a disaster going on in behind you. If I were facing a different way, it would probably be, but you start with, I'm going to keep this square foot of my desk clean, right? I'm not going to clean any more than that. I'm only going to keep this, 1 pizza box sized area clean, and then go to 2 pizza boxes. Okay, now I'm going to keep this clean and keep going. I've used that in the past a number of times, and it really does help to kind of get that. I'm controlling this one tiny area, and that's all I'm doing. I'm not, and I think that was it's one thing I do miss about going into the office was I could keep my client desk fairly clean because I didn't, because it wasn't like, I mean, it wasn't, I've worked at SDG for 17 years, but I've never had a desk for 17 years to have that much cruft and clutter build up. So
I always made it a point.
You're kind of getting you've been at in the office for 5 years?
Well, I have the challenge of a constant flow of objects.
You have things out of your control
in
too.
and out of my office.
That's a challenge too, for sure.
Yeah. And then I have this thing where people that come in my office leave their mug. So then I have a job to do. Like, okay, I have to get this back to this person.
No.
I had one day I had two of those Stanley whatever things.
Yeah.
One was on the table between the two chairs and one was on my desk. And I just look up and I'm like, where does this come from? Yeah. So what I thought is I would not have a flat surface anywhere in my office. I would put up like angles. So you can't set anything on anything. You have to put it away. Yeah.
That's innovative. I like that.
That's why if you go to like, I think malls do this where they have kind of the angled railings and stuff. A lot of that so people don't set stuff on there.
That makes a lot of sense.
And no trash cans.
Yeah, that's less.
That makes less sense.
That might be reverse progress. We'll see.
They have lots in the food courts.
One thing I think about is there is a time where you're overwhelmed and things have gotten to a state where it just gets to be too much. And it's the idea of the clean house. And, if your house isn't clean, you don't want people to come over. You're embarrassed. You don't want to hire a cleaning person because you're like my mom used to clean before the cleaning lady would come. Eileen would show up and why did you do all this? Why did you clean? I would have done this. But it's that same thing of it's too much and I'm afraid to ask for help. And so you're in that situation. I'll call my dad, my stepmom, and I won't even ask them to clean. I'll have them over to have a sandwich.
Yeah.
and hey, let's just get together and stuff. And they'll come over and just start cleaning. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening, but this is awesome. No, it's it's okay to ask for help. No,
I think
none of us are perfect.
It's also a season when there's just like take big actions right now. It's kind of a cliche. It's also coming from a place of privilege, but now is the time of year where you take that, vacation and you get out of your house, out of your space and do something different. For us, that has become kind of this annual trip that we pseudo hold to. We go down to, Mexico. And I remember the first time we ever tried this, we worked with a travel agent and he was asking what our things, what are our requirements? I just said warm, beach, kid-friendly, go figure it out for us. And also here's budget, I guess. And I was really not much of a traveler. I'm still really not, honestly. My wife kind of has to force it. She has to push to get me to get on board. I always get anxious about spending that kind of money on it. But coming back after something like that, it is so recharging. And I don't know, it kind of gives you that push to get through some of these months because it's hard. And, especially your house is messy, things like that. You're coming back to some of that, but I don't know, just getting out of it for a little bit is so helpful. So if that's something that people don't take advantage of, try. It's really a big deal.
That's awesome. Even like in the lead up to it, right? Like even when you're not on vacation yet, but you have something to look forward to. That's huge.
Yeah. Ours is coming up in mid-March, and I mean it's 60-ish days away at this point, but it's still something we kind of get to pseudo count down to. We get to think about it. It makes a huge deal or difference.
Yeah, buddy. We would look on the map and okay, where's the nearest golf course that's open right now?
Yeah. Yep.
And a lot of times it's like a 10-hour drive. Like it's not that far.
Yeah.
Where you can find one. At least it's the way the weather is now, it's a little bit less, of a guarantee that it's going to be 10 hours away. But, you don't have to go far and you don't have to go long and you don't have to spend a ton of money just to get to warm, green, a place like that to spend a few days and breathe in the northern part, the Emerald Coast of Florida. You can go to Florida without having a 30-hour drive. It's nice. That's on my radar of one of the places I'm going to go.
Is it warm or is it golfing?
That's going to be like beach. Yep. Well, I feel better now talking about, like, I'm motivated now to do some of these things.
I know I'm going to make a special effort, I think, to try and get some of those, the virtual lunches going again and just check in with people a little more frequently, because it's a good call out. I tend to wear my emotions on my sleeve, and so people generally know where I'm at, but other people are much more, close to the chest on that kind of stuff. So it's good to reach out and just ask the questions. And
I think so. Like, I'm one of those people who is definitely introverted, so I often don't think that I need or want to connect with people, but I almost always feel way better after I do. Yeah. And if people suggest it, I'm like, oh yeah, actually that sounds really fun. Can we please? So those who are extroverts and sociable and good at that sort of stuff, we appreciate people like you, Brian, reaching out and thinking of it for us.
It's a public service. The extroverts must perform. We understand.
That's right.
Stepping outside your comfort zone on some of that stuff, like, well, we haven't talked forever, and I was doing all the calling and planning and stuff, and then, or we just drifted apart, or my house is too embarrassing to clean, or I don't like to do these things. A lot of things you just have to step outside your comfort zone. You have to, the conventional like rules of society kind of drive some of these things, like break them,
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, people appreciate it. They want to be broken out of those ruts just as much as we want to break out of them. And you just need that person who pushes it and takes that chance, which I sometimes struggle with. We talk about like happy hours and things like that. I have often struggled because I tend to take it very personally when I get rejections on those things. And so I stopped trying to plan them for a long time. But there's so many people who really are appreciative and want someone to be that voice. I sometimes just need to kick myself and try to be that voice, because I know I'm able to do it. I just need to do it.
It's hard.
I'm going to do it today. I am going to do it today. I'm going to try and schedule something. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Nice. Love it.
We're going to hear back from everybody and see if we've accomplished our baby steps towards getting rid of the January doldrums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which get only worse in February. So
I'm going to clean my living room and get out my guitar. That's what I'm going to do.
Awesome.
I'm going to get Allison's cleaning person's information, and I'm going to try and schedule some happy hours.
I'm going to control some space.
I'm going to get some hot chocolate.
Yeah.
Hot
Maybe
chocolate.
head into the office a couple more times. Yeah, hot apple cider. That sounds real good.
Just a note on the hot chocolate. They sell the mini marshmallows by themselves. I've found,
like the little ones you get in the packet.
The ones that come in the packet, they sell those separately, and you can add as many as you want. And my kids found those, and they enjoyed them very much.
To put it mildly, I'm sure.
A lot of marshmallows. Yeah.
When I make hot chocolate, I'll use every marshmallow I can pack in that thing, and it's just a cup of hot goo, but it's awesome.
That would be a fun a way to bond in office, is if I were to bring in like a big thing of hot chocolate and the mini marshmallows and maybe some candy canes and stuff.
Yes, please.
We could have hot beverage day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cinnamon sticks and some smart eggnog.
Well, that way I wouldn't have to actual invites, because I'm too introverted for that, but I could summon people just from the smell of the hot chocolates.
There you go.
Well, we're getting down to the end, getting down to the wire. Any last minute thoughts, parting thoughts, recommendations, ideas?
All I got's hot chocolate. All that's in my thoughts right now.
Hot chocolate. Yeah.
My birthday is in the middle of February, so if anybody's seeking an opportunity to, elevate it and make it a better month, feel free to buy me something.
That'd be fun. Yeah. Well, thanks for everybody for joining us short notice, and I think we can shut her down and say goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
My favorite.
Solution Design Group is a digital product consultancy in Minneapolis. Check us out on the web at solutiondesign.com or look for us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram at Solution Design Group.